What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Score Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm Waiver Wirequeen. Today, we're going to talk about the top 3 MVP candidates in the NBA. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you enjoy listening to the podcast, check us out on Spotify, Apple, and Google, and leave us a rating. So, I have identified my top 3 candidates for MVP. That's right, y'all. This list is very short and is no surprises here for me. These 3 guys, to me, have been consistent all year long. And I look at several different factors. I don't just look at, well, he's scoring the most points. He's averaging the most points. Oh, he's the best defender. I look at a combination of things. Consistency, record, impact on your team, and obviously stats and a few other factors. And then I determine my list. One of the most important things is when I look at the roster, I'm comparing that to your record, because that is important. You can be the greatest thing out there on the court and your team is hot trash and y'all not winning games, and that's a problem. Or you can, have a very good team and you still be producing. I look at all of this to say that the Greek Freak is on this list, obviously, for several reasons. The Bucks started off very slow this season, but they picked it up. They are currently 3rd in the Eastern Conference at 49-30. Obviously, they clinched a playoff spot. You got to keep in mind the Bucks and the Sixers have the same record, but the Bucks are, again, in 3rd place. And the Greek Freak has been amazing. He's one of the best players in the NBA. He got his first ring, and now he's hungry for some more. I don't know about you guys, but if I want my first ring, I want to get some more rings too. And that is exactly what he is on a mission to do. He's just amazing. When you look at what he does, well, first of all, when you look at what he did to the Suns, it was just a dominant performance. And when I think about the Suns and the Bucks meeting up again, potentially in the finals, I still don't feel like they have anyone who will be able to hold the Greek Freak down. He's going to get off. He's going to score his points. I don't see anyone on that roster who's going to stop him, because they didn't stop him last year. Simply, certain players are unstoppable, and he is one, and they have built that team nicely around him. Let's talk about his stats. He plays 33 minutes per game. He's averaging 30.1 points per game, shooting over 55% from the field, which is tremendous. 29.6% from threes. I would love to see that increase. I'm going to say baby steps with him. We're going to get him to 30, and then we want to get him to a respectable 37 one day. We just want to. It may not happen, but, got to have expectations. You got to have some goals. Set some goals, okay? He shoots 72.1% from free throw line, and I need to see that improve as well. And he averages 11.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 3.3 turnovers, 1.1 steal, and 1.4 blocks per game. Stats are amazing. Okay, the 3 issues that I see, well, 2 issues. I need to see those free throws go up, and I also need to see the threes go up. But he's proven to be clutch. He hit his free throws against the Suns, so he make them when they count, like Shaq. I make them when they count. That's all you need to know. Supporting cast, because I factored in the supporting cast. You have Drew Holiday, who's an all-star. He's been an all-star. He's a great defender. He averages 18.7 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6.8 assists, and 1.7 blocks. And again, tremendous defender. Can't deny it. I remember early on in his career, he was like a low-key triple-double caliber player. Chris Middleton, that's his Scotty, that's his Robin. That is his right hand. Chris Middleton is an all-star. He averages 20.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, 1.1 steals per game. And then you throw in Bobby Portis, who I want to come back to the Bulls. We can use him, considering our front court is kind of thin. Bobby Portis averaged 14.7 points and 9.1 rebounds. So he has a very good supporting cast. And there's some other players that make up that tremendous Bucks team. You got Brook Lopez, who has returned from dealing with injuries. And then you have some other players. Grayson, not a fan of him. Okay. However, they have some really good role players, and they all know their role. They play their role, and it works. And you have Magic. I mean, the Greek Freak, even from a fantasy standpoint, if you drafted him, whether you drafted him with the first, second, or third pick, he has helped you win games. Those nights, the MVPs, I look at players who, when everyone else is playing bad, can't buy a bucket, you find a way to make it happen. It's all about the impact on the game as well. And impact, again, is not just statistical. You can, like, again, let's look at LeBron with his season, great season, one of his best seasons. But the Lakers aren't even in the playoffs. No, I'm sorry. They're not even in the play-in. So I don't just weigh in stats. You can have some great stats, but what are those stats really saying about the overall team? With the Bucks, again, they have a very good team around the Greek Freak, so I look at that as well. But when it's on the line, is he gonna get that win? And with the Bucks, you know that the Greek Freak, what he has done has translated to wins. They're winning games. They're, again, third in the Eastern Conference. So that is important for me. You don't just have great stats. I need more than just great stats. Again, it's so many different factors. And when the game is on the line, we know that Middleton is going to be that guy. They want to take the shot. But the impact that the Greek Freak has on the game, you can stop Middleton before you can stop the Greek Freak. Like, especially in the paint, he's just unstoppable, and they've had a really good season. And again, he's arrived. He got it for his first championship. Now he's looking for a second, a third. He's looking to repeat, and I would not be surprised if the Bucks came out of the Eastern Conference. We thought BK would be at the top, but BK's trying to hang on and win in the play-in tournament, and so they have some steps they have to take. I feel like that roster, one, they don't have Ben Simmons, and then two, they haven't had the time to really gel. That is important. You got the Bucks. A lot of these guys have been playing with each other for multiple years, and that is important, which is why they started off the season slow, but they were able to pick it up. And the same thing with a team like Boston. They have some players who, were new to the team, but then they have some core players who have been on that team for a while. And although they started off slow, they were able to pick it up. And you see, again, Boston. I did not expect Boston to be in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. I'm shocked as hell about it. But Tatum and Brown together is what all executives envision in today's NBA. Those two on the same team is a problem, a serious problem, and will be a problem for years to come. However, when we talk about the Greek Freak, right now it's his time. It's for me, it's like kind of passing the torch. You had LeBron had it, KD had it. Now I feel like it's the Greek Freak's time. And so again, I would not be surprised if the Bucks were to come out of the Eastern Conference again and potentially repeat. I do feel like if BK can really step it up and get Ben Simmons back, then they would be able to compete against the Bucks. But I don't see that happening. I do feel like right now, although Miami has been great, I feel like the Bucks are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference as of April 6th, okay? It was something else yesterday, but after today, having to think more about it, and the standings were updated, right now I'm feeling like the Bucks are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, regardless of whether they are in first or third. They're in third, but still, to me, they are the team to beat. Let's talk about Joel Embiid, center with the 76ers. Joel Embiid has been tremendous this season. He's played more than 60 games this year, y'all. Shocker. Hasn't played. He's played. This season has been the most games he has ever played in his entire NBA career. That is great. That is important. You got to think of everything that the 76ers have been through this season with the whole Ben Simmons situation. Ben Simmons is supposed to be his right, my Robin, my Pippen, and they didn't have him this year. So, far as I'm concerned, Embiid has stepped his game up on a whole another level, and we didn't think he could step it up any more than what he has already done, and he has. He's taken it to a whole nother level, and again, with the supporting cast, some solid players, but players who, you expected to take the next step, and players like Tyrese Maxey. However, when you look at a Jrue Holiday, you would prefer to have a Jrue Holiday over a Tyrese Maxey. And again, Tyrese Maxey is a very good young player, and he's coming along. But when you don't have your right hand, which is Ben Simmons, who is going to get you 14, 8, and 8 and play great defense, you can't replace that, right? You simply can't. Well, they got Harden now, but I'm not factoring in Harden in regards to the MVP race, because Harden hasn't been there for a long time. He hasn't even been raised. He's been inconsistent. But with Embiid, just amazing. Again, the 76ers are 4th in the Eastern Conference, tied with the Bucks, 49-30. Embiid has played a career high in games this season. Let's talk about his stats. 33.7 minutes per game. Very good. 30.4 points per game. Amazing. 49.6% from the field, 37.1% from threes. He's doing it all. 81.6% from the free throw line, which is also great. He's averaging 11.6 rebounds, 1.1 steal, and 1.5 blocks per game. MVP caliber season. He is doing the damn thing. He's been amazing. And when I look at an MVP candidate, I'm looking for the impact you have on your team, right? So he's had an impact on that team. They're incapable of truly winning games unless Embiid is on the court, and we were able to see that early on when he was out of the lineup for a few games due to being in the protocol. And you got to think, impact, important. Is his impact turning into victories? Yes, that is very important. You can have the best stats, your best season statistically, and you're losing. So to me, as an MVP candidate, it's a no for me, because I need you to be able to produce. In my opinion, most valuable player is what you bring to that team. What would your team look like without you? The Lakers still look like the Lakers with or without LeBron losing. So, again, this is why Embiid is on this list, because without Embiid, they don't look like the same team. With Embiid, they look like a playoff team. They look like a contender that has the potential to come out of the Eastern Conference. Supporting cast. Again, I'm not going to factor in Harden because he hasn't been there that long. No Ben Simmons again. Gotta remember that. Tyrese Maxey, career season. It's breakout season for him, which most of us expected, especially from a fantasy standpoint. He's averaging 17.1 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. Very, very good. Tobias Harris, wanted him to step it up a little bit, considering Ben Simmons was out. He pretty much played his same role and at the same level. 17.5 points, 6.9 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He has less to work with than what the Greek Freak has. Plain and simple. But it's still a very good team. And now when you factor in James Harden, if James Harden can be the James Harden when he first arrived to Houston, then teams in the Eastern Conference have a problem. But again, in my opinion, from what I've witnessed, Harden hasn't been able to step it up and play great in the playoffs. So to me, he's choked in the playoffs. And until I see him play very well in the playoffs, I think it's going to hurt the 76ers. But I'm hoping that this postseason is going to be a great postseason for Harden. But nonetheless, Embiid is on this list simply because impact, his skills as a big, he's hitting threes, he's obviously rebounding the ball, shooting a very good percentage from the free throw line, and he's playing excellent defense. That's another reason why he's on this list. I know y'all seen some nights on SportsCenter and be blocking somebody's shot and looking crazy at it, or dunking on someone, and you're like, woo, highlights. Yes, with Embiid you get some highlights. And then also he's sometimes like the point guard, but that's going to change a bit with Harden. But at the end of the day, Embiid's impact, he's dominant, he's unstoppable, and his impact on his team are wins. They're winning, they are in the playoffs and have a chance to compete for the Eastern Conference. So that is why he is on this list. Nikola, that's right, Joker, y'all. Joker. Yes, y'all know who Joker is. Center with the Denver Nuggets. Currently, the Nuggets have moved to 6th. They were in 5th last night. They have gone down to 6th. They lost a game. And Utah has moved up to the 5th spot in the Western Conference. But nonetheless, with Joker, I had him as my MVP candidate at the top of my list early on because of several factors. Obviously his production, and then the fact that he's doing it with some role players who are not as good as the role players that Embiid has and the role players that the Greek Freak has. So I had him at the top of my list. I had a conversation with someone earlier this year, and they were saying that he's not playing the defense that Embiid is playing. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But he's averaging almost a triple-double as a center. He's their point guard, their shooting guard, their small forward, their power forward. And he's bringing up the ball as if he's the damn point guard. And he's doing it, and he's looking really good. And he has less to work with, but they still are in the mix to be in the playoffs. I don't think anybody truly expected that, considering Jamal Murray is out, and then Michael Porter, he didn't start the season off playing well, and then he got hurt. So you don't have your other top 2 players. And then when you talk about the role players, you have on your roster Monte Morris, who's had a very good season, 12.8 points per game, 3 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Not bad, but you want him coming off your bench. Then you have Will Barton, 14.8 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 3.9 assists. Fine. That's okay. But my preference would have been to have Michael Carter. And then you got Aaron. But my preference would have been to have Will Barton potentially coming off my bench. And then you have Aaron Gordon, 14.9 rebounds. And then you have Aaron Gordon, 14.9 points per game, 5.8 rebounds. Solid season. He's going to have to stay within the paint because he's not a great shooter. But, again, the Joker has less to work with, and they still are in the mix for the playoffs. So I weigh that heavily. He gets more points in that area than Embiid and the Greek Freak. And again, you can't go wrong with any one of these guys. If you were drafting in fantasy basketball and you decided to take the Greek Freak or Joker or Embiid, I would not be mad at you. I would say, going with any one of these guys, either one of these guys, you are positioning your team to be successful in fantasy. And again, if you had any of these guys, there were nights where you looked and you're like, oh my God, Embiid got me almost 90 points. Some teams taking about 3 or 4 players to get 90. Or wasn't even doing that with 3 or 4 players. So the impact is very important. The impact these 3 players have had on their teams this season in the NBA and in fantasy have been tremendous, which is why they are the top 3 for MVP. And I had someone say, well, what about Tatum? Tatum has come on strongly, and I'll put him in my top 5. But these 3 guys, again, have been doing it all season long. All season long. And that's why they're my top 3. Let's talk about stats. He's played over 70 games this season. Statistically, 33.3 minutes per game, 26.8 points per game. And then I had someone say, well, he's averaging less points than the other 2 guys. And I said, okay, that's fine. But he's averaging 8 assists per game. So he's assisting the ball more than the other 2 guys. So I'm looking at that. Shoots 58.3% from the field, which is higher than the other 2. 33.9% from the field, which is only higher than the Greek Freak. But I would love to see that increase to at least where Embiid is at. He shoots 81.1% from free throws, which is very good. So when you look at Embiid and you look at Joker, both of these 2 are very good free throw shooters as well. And then he's averaging 13.7 rebounds per game, which is great. There's been some nights when I would pick him in one of my daily fantasy games that I'm playing, and he would have about 17 rebounds, and I'm like, damn. Even with Prize Pick, I would always pick Joker for rebounds because I know that. I'm like, yeah, I always take the over with him in rebounds. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's about to rebound the ball tonight. He's about to get about 16, 17 on this team, and it works. He averages 1.4 steals and slightly less than a block per game. So overall, Embiid is obviously the better defender. But with Joker, he's damn near averaging a triple-double, and he's producing with less. And I won't want to say these players are not good, because they are, but these are more role players who should be coming off your bench. And again, if you had Jamal Murray and Porter, that moves 2 of these guys to the bench. Monty Morris, he may slide to the 2, or he may end up being with Monty Morris, he may end up sliding to the bench, or you'll have Murray and Monty in the backcourt, and then one of those guys in the front court is going to have to go to the bench. So to me, you probably were moving Gordon to the bench, which helps your bench. So again, the injuries have hurt this team, but they are still in the mix, and part of that is great play from a great leader at the center spot, and also very good role players playing their role, and good coaching. Because if you would have told me at the beginning of the season Murray's not going to play any of the regular season games for them, and Porter was going to start the season off poorly, and then he wasn't going to play most of the season for the Denver Nuggets, I would have said, oh yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. But Nikola is just very, very good. He's really good. And I had a conversation with someone, and they said, well, he's having a good season, but I'm not going to say he's the MVP because he is not having a dominant season like he was when he won MVP. And I'm like, that does not mean he's not the MVP, because he's still producing. And again, when I factor in so many different things, which ultimately determines who my MVP will be. So yesterday I thought about it, and I had Embiid as my guy, and it was just solely, the last factor was based on record, because I was like, okay, he's at the top. So as of today, I'm going to still leave it as Embiid, just because the impact he has had on the game this year overall. He has been the guy in most people's rankings as the MVP, the lead to be MVP. I've had Joker in the mix and lead early on, and then right now I have it as Embiid, but there's still a few games left, so anything is possible, and I'll follow up with this. So right now I got him ranked Embiid, Joker, the Greek Freak. That's how I have my MVPs ranked. And again, I may switch it. As you know, I had early on in the season Joker. Well, as of today, that has changed. Y'all make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave some comments and let me know who you think is the MVP this season in the NBA, and let us know if you think we got it right on who we think the MVP is this season in the NBA. Also, go on over to Spotify and make sure you leave some ratings about the podcast and share with all your friends who love basketball, especially fantasy basketball. Y'all have a great evening. Peace.
Thanks for listening to The Score Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to The Score for more fun and great advice on how to win at fantasy basketball. And if you've got comments or questions about The Score, send them to waiverwirequeen@gmail.com. The Score.